Good morning and happy Thursday to everyone. We're going to get started in just about 1 minute. In the meantime, it's great to see where some of you are chatting in, where you're zooming in from today. And I'd like to welcome you to today's virtual destination experience. It's a part of our new Spotlight series. So my name is Lisa Meller, for those of you who don't know me, of Meller Performance Events Group, and I am your co-host and panel moderator for today's event, along with Maureen Carter of CSI DMC. I'm in Orange County, California, and she and our panelists in Colorado, our featured destination today. So we've teamed up with our local hospitality and industry supplier friends to help travelers, event planners, and hospitality partners better understand not only what the destination has to offer and why it's a great fit for the trends, but also how the destination is managing through change so that we can navigate through this time of transition together. So Maureen, do you want to say a quick hello?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're excited you're here.
Awesome. And in the next hour, we're going to talk about what's trending in event and travel expectations, what we as planners and travelers need to consider, and how some of the top local suppliers are reimagining and reemerging through this COVID recovery. From the Western wilderness to the depths of Denver, we're going to hear from global destination management experts at CSI DMC and from leading luxury full-service properties, Sheraton Downtown Denver and Devil's Thumb Ranch. Together, we're going to explore some valuable information, insight, and creative emerging ideas. Then we'll move into some Q&A time. Our goals today include offering some valuable takeaways that might inspire and empower you to book live events again, and of course, to consider Colorado at the top of your list. We hope you feel confident booking programs with our supplier partners, and that we'll be able to help you create and design some amazing, memorable events. We would like for this to be an interactive event, so please participate, share your comments in the chat, raise a hand for Q&A time, and stay with us till the end because we have some exciting giveaways at the end of the hour. And if you're like me, you're ready to return to travel again and are just itching to get back out there and start living life. So whether you're feeling ready to travel now or in the future, our suppliers are ready to welcome us. And as a reminder, please keep your chat comments PC and friendly too. Today's event is being recorded. You'll be able to watch the download on YouTube, and we'll send the recording to everyone registered. If you need help with tech support, we have Jeannie, our production coordinator, available to help. Just shoot a quick note in the chat. So let's get started by hearing from all of you joining us today. In the chat, share with us what you want to learn most, what we'll, and what we'll try to cover either during the call or in follow-up, and let us know what you're seeing out there and what you're dealing with for challenges. While you're sharing those responses, let's look at what many of you asked during registration, or you had, and also what you had submitted. So we asked about how optimistic you were about travel. And honestly, I love you guys. Most of you were very optimistic. You have your bags already practically packed. Some were pretty neutral. And a few of you said, no way, waiting for a cure. That's understandable based on the COVID reports that we've been hearing and recently. Many of you are pretty familiar with the destination. A few of you really have never been there and need some good starter pack information. But finally, we asked about your burning questions. You wanted to know about regulations, how anyone can even meet in a meeting setting these days, what's happening out there now, what to anticipate, how Colorado is managing through these, and how they're reshaping. So we're going to try to cover as much as we can of these things. And if we can't get to your question, please feel free to stay on with us again after the call, or we'll help you one-on-one in post-event support. So if you have ideas or suggestions for other planners and peers, feel free to share them in the chat, and thanks for your feedback. Maureen, would you mind actually introducing our panelists?
I would love to, Lisa. Hi again, everyone. I'm Maureen Carter, Vice President of National Accounts for CSI DMC, and I would like to take a moment to introduce our panelists for today. We have Nicole Ralstad, Senior Accounts Director for CSI DMC out of Denver, Chris Clark, Director of Food and Beverage for Sheraton Downtown Denver, Thad Carlson, Senior Director of Sales for Devil's Thumb Ranch Resort and Spa, and Jordan, Sales and Creative Service Manager for CSI DMC.
Awesome. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Really appreciate it. And for our panelists, look forward to hearing from all of those. But we're going to start off with some event trends, and I'm going to lead us off in this first segment. And so a little bit about me. I've been active in this industry now for almost 20 years as a full service event designer and manager. About 2.5 years ago, I opened MPEG to help companies better source, plan, and execute live experiential meetings and incentives all over the world. I'm a volunteer on the Incentive Research Foundation's Research Committee, and I'm also a past MPI Orange County president. So basically, I see things from a planner's perspective. So what are we seeing? Where are we headed? What are we doing to shift strategies? We're pretty social beings. We like to explore. There's a lot of pent-up demand out there for travel. So why is Colorado a good fit? And there's a few key points to make. This is supported by a lot of industry discussion, IRF disruption study preliminary research, a few key resources that I'm going to load into the chat, and they are all excellent reads. In a nutshell, we're seeing that the event and travel trends that have been slowly making their way into the norm are now rapidly accelerating and are leading the way big time. Driven significantly by millennials in the market, we want unique and first-time experiences, Instagrammable moments, more personalization, privatization, customization, and exclusivity. We wanted more adventure travel, wellness travel, and emerging destinations instead of places that are on the beaten path. Experts are actually anticipating venge tourism, whereby many will flock to get out of the house again. And I honestly experienced this firsthand this past weekend in talking with fellow campers and whitewater rafters in Northern California's Gold Country. So let's explore a few highlights. Safety is and has always been a universal concern, but now the expectations obviously and the optics have risen dramatically. So we need to lift confidence in moving people from shelter in place to safe but away. People are skeptical, concerned about others, and even about themselves as potential disease-carrying agents. So it's going to take a while for the turtles to come out of their shells, and no one wants the liability of making others sick. It's a shared responsibility for everyone, and as planners, we need to guide our attendees. So now more than ever, planners and travel managers are needing to ramp up their event policies for duty of care statements to demonstrate the steps taken, such as temperature checks and sanitization stations. We're seeing event planners and tour operators put out health pledges, participation waivers, and lists of protocols to which attendees must adhere. It's part of the day. Size matters, because currently the word group is like a four-letter word. So we expect to see shifts from hundreds of attendees or even thousands to smaller, more interpersonal, intimate groups of 10 to 30, even 50, perhaps max at a time. FIT luxury travel will likely take the lead in raising consumer confidence as it has in the past, but group sizes are expected to remain small for a while. We can do small groups back to back, maybe in event waves to meet larger audience needs, but many companies are turning large events into smaller regional roadshows and are expecting only to send the people who really need to meet in person. We're also seeing reduced capacity allowances universally in the hospitality industry, currently moving from say 25 to upwards of 50% for many places today. And even once restrictions are lifted, the expectation is likely to linger to appease customer confidence. So look for boutique hotels, little villas with casitas, private residences, cabins on ranch properties, and places that you can buy out for exclusivity. We're seeing shifts in traditionally larger properties, making it possible for those events to spread out, as traditional capacity charts have been completely blown out of the water. So Jeannie will load into the chat a few resources. And check out some of the floor plan ideas. The resources are great. Freeman has done a fantastic job of pulling together new logistics and operational designs for shows, and MPI's Navigating the New Normal actually shows layouts and sets. So we will do our best to make sure that the chat is available as well in the download for you. Okay, and clean is cool because many businesses are really stepping up their game with making clean kind of cool. So can we eliminate the long lobby lines at check-in and just do it from apps? We'll see more innovative touchless and low touch ticketing, IDs, check-in systems, payment systems, automated ordering, a lot of smart technology. We might even breeze through airports without making contact with a screen, making contact with people just via screens. And we may do a lot more in voice commands. But cleaning also takes time and has to be figured out in our agendas. We're also seeing big changes in what low touch means. No longer does it imply low levels of care. Low physical touch can still be high touch on a personal level with the right customer service in mind. And now that we're all Zoom-y online whizzes, traditional educational content is expected to move either online 100% or in hybrid formats. And this includes your keynotes and general sessions, breakout sessions, brainstorming sessions. People will likely only feel the need to travel if they can't get it done online, or if the if the event is something that can only be accomplished by human to human direct interaction and connectivity, because we're social beings. We need to network. We need to feel each other's energy. We're also spiritual beings. So considerations for wellness, health, and mindfulness are trends that are accelerating at a rapid pace. Human connection applies not only to one another, but now we're focusing on connection to oneself and connection to nature. So we need to consider this when we design future events and we source destinations. Because it's all about the experience. And when we experience things together, we develop deep bonds and emotional connections. So by that token, travel events are going to need to be more engaging and more experiential than the expectations of the past. Intimacy, high privatization, exclusivity, and wow moments will rule. People need healing now. And they want to feel transformed. They want to have a positive local impact as well in the community or even on local conservation efforts. So we expect things to be different today. And location. People are gravitating towards outdoor experiences, fresh air, new adventures, wide open spaces. They want beaches, mountains, trails, trekking, cycling, freshwater rays, and just to take in the beauty where population is low. So expect less urban travel, more interest in your national parks and in second-tier cities. There will be a lot of movement away from over-tourism as in crowded market cities, and will move more towards natural settings, such as the Galapagos, Antarctica, African safaris, Mongolia, and Tibet, once we can get out there internationally again. But here in the US, we have some fantastic options too, like ranches and ranges, waterways, mountains, and spaces that you can find right in Colorado. But there's a huge growing trend in drivable distance destinations, and the Rocky Mountain State offers a lot of what travelers are looking for. Adventurous travelers are ready to get out of the neighborhood, but they really don't want to go too far away. So for many, Colorado is a short flight, or it's within driving range and offers a very colorful array of what feels far away but is actually close to home. And I know for me personally, 2020, it's all about road trips to lakes, rivers, and parks. So let's explore with our locals in Colorado how they're addressing these trends and what wild ideas might work as well. And if you have comments, share them in the chat. I want to hear about what you're managing for space changes and processes too. Like pool reservations, you now have to make them, like your restaurant dining. So now let's turn it over to Maureen Carter. And Maureen, first, if you can share with everyone a bit about yourself, what you do for CSI, and what you think about the trends above.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Hi again, everyone. I'm Maureen Carter, Vice President of National Accounts for CSI DMC. A little bit about me. I've been in the hospitality industry for just over 15 years. I spent 14 of those years at the Broadmoor with a great team there. And just last April, I was pleased to join the team at CSI DMC. I'm active in site chapters in Southern California, Texas, and Minnesota, as well as MPI in Northern California and Washington State. I was honored to be recognized as Independent Hotelier of the Year by Conference Direct last year, and I'm excited to still be partnering with that organization in my current role. I really appreciate all the planners and hospitality partners who are on the call today, and it's been really fun collaborating with you, Lisa.
Oh, and the same, likewise, Maureen. And so I'm wondering, do you agree with the trends that we've mentioned, or are your clients asking anything differently of you? What's CSI doing to address it?
I completely agree with your assessment, Lisa, and those trends that you touched on are just what we're hearing from our customers. People are zoomed out. They're craving that human connection, and we're all eager to get back to meetings, back to business. We just need to make sure that we do it safely so that we can build momentum and rebuild our industry on solid ground. So that's what I'd like to touch on today, because there are just a few ways that CSI is helping to bridge that gap between our pre-COVID meetings and the current state of our industry. First and foremost, all of us at CSI DMC are excited to be participating in today's program. Thank you to my fellow panelists for joining. I have to say that the partnership and collaboration across the board has been wonderful to experience. So as some of you may be new to CSI, I'll offer just a little bit of background about us. We've been in business for over 30 years, and we've certainly navigated our share of economic ups and downs. Just like many of you, we're making our way through this pandemic by being flexible, adaptable, and above all, creative. With offices in 10 major cities and having operated programs in over 80 destinations just last year, our team needs to be prepared to assist groups wherever they're going next. Whether the group is based in Denver, Las Vegas, Boston, or Miami, we need to adapt to the latest COVID-19 guidelines and offer help through different stages of reopening. Of course, we don't pretend to have all the answers, but I actually heard a quote recently that really resonated with me, and I think it captures what our industry is facing today. Perfect is the enemy of good. So while 2020 likely won't be the year to break any meeting attendance records, it would still be good if we could have small in-person meetings safely, meet virtually in an engaging way, or offer a hybrid option. And that's what we're hearing right now from our customers. They need options. Based on those customer requests, we've found great success with 3 main concepts: the Welcome Box, the Virtual CSR, and Big Name Entertainment. The Welcome Box, it's a bento-style package that's delivered to attendees' homes. Layers are opened in live time as the meeting progresses to reveal prepackaged meals for a breakout cooking session, or logoed swag to wear during the conference, or even an autographed copy of the keynote speaker's book. Another trend that we're seeing is the virtual community service project. One of our clients actually postponed its President's Club trip to Mexico. In order to bring the company together and give back to the local community, each attendee will receive a 3x4 tile along with paint and instructions. Once painted, the tiles will be mailed to a local elementary school in Mexico, where the students will actually build a mosaic mural and display it in their school. Then a trip to the school will be scheduled next year when the incentive trip takes place. Lastly, we're seeing many groups bring in big name entertainment virtually. One of our clients had to postpone its incentive trip that was to include a surprise Keith Urban concert. Rather than miss the chance to celebrate a great year, CSI brought the music to their employees and their families with a live stream performance. It was complete with a Q&A session with the famous singer following the show. So as you can see, there are some exciting and creative ways to remain connected during this time, but I'm sure you'll all agree there's still nothing better than meeting face to face.
Oh, you're so right. It makes all the difference in the world to be able to actually be there live and in person, and that's why we all do what we do. But Maureen, the DMCs have had to make some major changes in their approaches, and what has been CSI's biggest challenge, and how are you guys overcoming that?
Well, I think just like many of you on the call today, in mid-March, our entire business model had to change, and it had to change quickly. We saw very early on that our customers needed help, and as their partner, we needed to step in and provide guidance and offer alternatives that would make the transition into these virtual events and meetings a little easier and a bit more fun.
Yeah, for sure. So, what excites you most about Colorado of all the many destinations that you represent?
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love our state. Nothing beats the climate, the sun, and the people. Of course, I'm a little biased. I've lived here on and off for over 30 years. But whenever I'm talking to planners about bringing their program to Colorado, they can quickly see that the options are endless. We have open space in our mountains and plains, combined with sophistication of our downtown locations. But I have to say the real expert when it comes to planning meetings in Colorado is my colleague in our Colorado office, Nicole Ralstad. So Nicole, thank you for joining us. And if you could share a bit about your background and what you do for CSI.
Thank you, Maureen. I am so excited to be here today. And hello, everybody. I am Nicole Ralstad, the Senior Account Executive for CSI DMC Denver. I was lucky enough to join the team in August of 2019 to help open CSI's 10th and newest location. I've had the privilege of living in colorful Colorado for the last 12 years. It is one of the best states in the country with countless outdoor activities, adventures, and the most breathtaking landscapes. I have had 14 years of event planning experience with previous roles as an internal planner for 2 international companies. So I understand the planner side of things and what you are looking for when it comes to a DMC partner. Some of my most successful programs were because I had an amazing DMC, and the best thing about them was they always let me take the credit for the outcome. And that's exactly what we are here to do at CSI DMC, is we're here to make you look good by creating successful events. As we are highlighting, Denver is back up and running, and the safety of our travelers and tourists is top priority. That is why we wanted to highlight the refresh and reimagined way of traveling to colorful Colorado. At Denver's International Airport, their slogan is now, "We're ready when you're ready," ensuring confidence in the travelers that the airport is ready to handle hundreds of incoming and outgoing flights a day safely. There are many ways DIA is doing this by requiring mandatory face coverings for everyone entering the airport. They're installing plexiglass barriers at all the check-in desks and over 100 hand sanitizing stations throughout the airport, as well as hand wipe dispensers at each gate. They have placed floor decals indicating where people should stand, and the TSA lines have been reconfigured to allow space between queues. Other things, like Lisa mentioned earlier, touches payment at retail dining establishments, disablement of drinking fountains and air dryers, as well as increased cleaning in all public areas and restrooms are just more examples of the way the airport here is taking the right precautions during this time. One of our preferred partners here in Denver, Hermes, has also taken extra measures in ensuring guest safety. Each member of their staff has gone through a new COVID safety guideline training, as well as being asked to take temperature checks and screening questionnaires before the start of their shifts. Vehicles are extensively cleaned before and after each transfer, and hand sanitizing wipes are available for guests to use inside the vehicle. Also, as a valued client of theirs, Hermes is offering CSI DMC discounted vehicle rates to allow for proper social distancing. So for example, SUVs will be used in place of sedans and sprinters in place of SUVs, etc. But we'll still get the rate of the vehicles that are down one level. And that is something that we like to pass on to our clients as well. As of June 19th, Governor Polis has allowed social events to resume, which includes up to 100 people for indoor events and 170 people for outdoor events, as long as the venues are able to practice proper social distancing. Denver has an extensive variety of indoor and outdoor event venues and restaurants. Considering we have 300 days of sunshine a year, you can maximize outdoor space as early as March and as late as November. Venues are excited to host again by ensuring all staff are trained on the new safety guidelines while requiring face coverings, gloves, and temperature checks, screening questionnaires as well. They are installing hand sanitizing stations before entering the premises and throughout their space. CSI DMC is also working with our venue partners to reconfigure their space utilizing furniture and decor arrangements that help create the appearance of intimate gatherings, but are actually in accordance with the new social distancing guidelines. In this next slide, you will see some of the renderings and images of things that we are doing here at CSI DMC to help create the proper social distancing. So serpentine tables, lounge furniture groupings, and fewer people at rounds are ways that we provide the adequate space. We are also adding ourselves plexiglass to the front of interactive food stations and bars so that guests and servers are protected during the event. Another thing to note that CSI has been doing is conducting live and pre-recorded virtual site visits of restaurants and venues to help our clients in picking the perfect space for their events, as well as continuing planning the details for future events. It's another complimentary service we offer our clients during this time to not only protect you and your teams, but to help eliminate costs associated with your program. For an example, we are including a link in the chat box that shows a site visit conducted by our Chief Marketing Officer, Amberly Huggins, where she shows the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., and all the ways that you can maximize the space for your event. So please take a look at that at your earliest convenience. Since entertainment adds such an exciting element onto your event, we want you to be able to be assured there are safety practices in place for your talent as well. All entertainers and coordinating entertainment staff will be required to undergo the same health screening as all other event performers and staff. Performers will be required to wipe down their equipment, wash and sanitize their hands regularly. Interactive station attendants will wear mandatory face coverings and gloves when needed. In addition, they will be sanitizing shared equipment such as VR headsets between each guest's use. CSI DM staff will also be on site to constantly observe performers and to ensure proper social distancing measures. At CSI DMC, our focus is the safety of the guests that attend our events and anyone hired to help with our event. Our trusted vendor partners are an extension of our team. As such, we have ensured they are all following and adhering to the proper COVID safety guidelines. We are adding elements that are now common additions to your event, as seen on the slide. Hand sanitizing dispensers, social distancing floor decals, continuous cleaning of public areas, spaces, and face masks for attendees and staff. These are great things to know that can all be custom logoed just for you in your event. This may be our new normal, but it is a normal we can adapt to together. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. Interesting that you mentioned the virtual sites, and I saw one of the chats in the comment too. So how is that going? What's been the planner feedback?
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Virtual site visits are something our clients are excited to learn we are doing. This is really taking off in popularity, obviously because of the current situation we're in, but we have been doing these long before the global pandemic as a way for our clients in other countries and states to see venues ahead of time to decide if they were even going to be a good fit for their program. Planners really loved this option because it would take minor site visit trips off their calendars. We're so busy traveling that one less trip is a huge thing. So we really do paint the picture of the entire attendee experience from start to finish inside each and every virtual site visit we do. The live versions are also picking up momentum as the venues and restaurants obviously start reopening. This option allows planners to ask questions in real time and engage with us while we're discussing their program. So I strongly recommend taking a look at that link that we provided so that it can put it into context for you and know that this is an option in any one of our destinations.
Oh, that's awesome. Good to hear. Okay, Maureen, we are going to move on to our next hotelier. So who's next in our lineup?
Thanks, Lisa. I am really excited to introduce our next panelist. Chris Clark is a 25-year industry veteran, board member of the Colorado Restaurant Association, vice president of the CRA's Mile High chapter, and a member of Marriott International's Colorado Business Council. Above all else, Chris is forward-thinking and collaborative in his approach with planners, which I experienced firsthand working alongside him at the Broadmoor for over a decade.
That's great. And so, Chris, you have a very unique perspective and have been at the forefront of statewide regulations changes and a lot of the operational concerns. So can you share with us what you're seeing is changing, what shifts you're seeing, and what planners need to know in order to move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. Today, I'll start with an update on the shape of Marriott's global recovery and talk about a few issues that we're wrestling with. And I think the global perspective is important to understanding how Marriott foresees Colorado's recovery. So as a reminder, in most markets around the world, we saw hotel occupancies decline by 90% when COVID-19 burst on the scene. This impact started in China, moved quickly into the rest of Asia Pacific and the European markets, and by March became a truly global phenomenon. With occupancies in single digits, we saw nearly 2,000 of our 7,400 hotels around the world close. In many, but not all markets around the world, we are seeing conditions beginning to improve. The first green shoots came in China as the Chinese traveler got back on the road for leisure first, and then some early business travel. All of our hotels are open again in China, and our occupancies have approached 50%. Profoundly weaker than last year, but powerfully stronger than the figures we experienced in late January and February. Of course, this progress is fluid. Beijing saw an increase in COVID-19 cases a few weeks ago, and the government there moved quickly to impose restrictions and test millions for the virus. That has inevitably depressed the speed of recovery a bit. Europe is just beginning its recovery, and our European team is actively reopening hotels that have been closed in the first stage of the pandemic, and governments across the region have begun to relax restrictions on travel. We are optimistic that we will see steady improvement in demand in the weeks ahead, albeit driven entirely by European travelers and not by the typical visitors coming from around the world to see Europe's historic sites. The experience in the US has, in many respects, fallen in between that of China and Europe. We started to see US occupancies climb up from their absolute lows before we did in Europe, and with them, a significant move in reopening closed hotels. That early strength has been driven overwhelmingly by leisure travel and by travelers who are within driving distance of their destinations. The US beaches, other resort hotels, and hotels not located in markets with the highest COVID-19 cases were the first to show signs of relative strength. But even leisure travelers need to feel that they can safely take a trip. The increase in COVID-19 cases in many parts of the US the past few weeks and the attendant closings of beaches, restaurants, and bars will undoubtedly cause at least some travelers to defer their travel until safety seems more assured. We have also not seen much activity with our business and group leaders, a trend that will become even more important as we approach September. It's a big world out there, and I can't talk about all the markets where today's attendees are planning events, but it won't surprise you to know that those parts of the world that are still wrestling with increased COVID-19 cases and stressed healthcare systems are also the places where our business is weakest. And while we have seen roughly half of the 2,000 hotels that closed reopen, we can know for a certainty that our business will not recover with the speed we would like until our guests feel like the pandemic is well behind us. Between now and then, we can and should expect some modest recovery in demand, at least to the extent that our guests conclude that they can travel safely. A part of that equation, what happens to the spread of the virus, is largely outside of our control. What we can control is this. Do our guests feel safe when they are in our hotels? Do our guests feel our facilities are clean and that we are observing social distancing, that we are wearing masks and doing the other things that are necessary to keep them safe? This is the context that makes our new cleaning protocols known as Commitment to Clean so important. Since April, we've been working with hotels on the training and procurement of new tools and technology that will help us enhance how we clean our hotels. As of today, nearly 95% of our hotels have certified their adherence to Marriott's Commitment to Clean. And while we must get to 100% to sustain that commitment so that our guests see uniformity in our approach, no matter where they travel, we are off to an excellent start. We're going to get to a slide here in a moment, and we're going to share the link in the chat, but in Colorado, public health orders are varying by county. Organizations such as the Colorado Restaurant Association, Colorado Hotel and Lodging Association, Colorado Tourism Office, and Visit Denver, to name but a few, are continuing to work with Governor Polis' office and his team to ensure that we are loosening restrictions in a responsible manner. Some counties have been able to obtain variances from state guidelines. I recommend, if you have any events in Colorado, use this link to stay up to date on what those local variances are. While we're on this call now, the mayor of Denver has called a press conference, and so as soon as I get off, we'll see if there's any new updates for Denver, but that link will tell you.
That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, it's constantly a moving target with all of this too. So, Chris, so interestingly, you guys just underwent a major renovation, and now you're facing more reinvention and reimagining of space. Yeah. So, what key takeaways can you offer to us on that?
Boy, yeah, a lot. The first one, I think, for us is that the design and materials matter more now than they ever have. As we're nearing completion of our renovation, I've pondered what we might have done differently had this pandemic coincided with the start of our project. But poring over the pages of blueprints and design plans, I see very little that I want to change. Our designers built in a lot of flexibility, including solo and small group gathering areas throughout the public space. They also chose materials and fabrics that are easy to sanitize. You know, we can flex the restaurant and bar lobby layouts to accommodate current CDC guidelines and easily go back to the original post-pandemic setup. In our banquet space, the move to linen-less tables has taken on even greater importance as it allows for easier sanitation and faster turn times between sessions. In the last couple of years, our hotel has invested over $900,000 in new linenless 6-foot and 8-foot banquet, classroom, and buffet tables. And we still have some way to go until all of our inventory is linenless. There's a social newsletter that's going to be included in the chat. It's a YouTube video just showing you some what's going on in our public space and our guest rooms. But I think the second key takeaway for me would be to expect that all groups need more space, and that hoteliers need to expect that, and our planners too. Everything's more spread out, from registration to food service, exhibits to event setups. Event managers are spending a lot more time drawing setups to ensure that both the client and our team know what to expect. But this doesn't have to reduce the size of your audience participation. Hybrid meetings that combine in-person and remote attendance through the use of technology can enable you to flex into your space. Another key takeaway for us is that transitions are going to take longer. Planners and hotel food and beverage teams need to allow more time in the agenda for registration, breaks, meals, and transitions between sessions. Servers and chefs and chef-assisted break stations and buffets take a little bit more time. Plus, there's more to a setup than there used to be, and hotels and venues will be well served to perform test runs in order to get the timing down. Another key takeaway, you got to incorporate technology, and I'm not only talking about audiovisual. It's no secret that the US has lagged some of our Asian and European markets when it comes to adoption of technology that's meant to simplify and streamline the guest experience. With Marriott's aggressive focus on the relaunch of the Sheraton brand, not only are we capitalizing on best practices learned from properties across the globe, such as skip the desk check-in process, keyless entry, mobile ordering for on-demand room service, Wi-Fi services that recognize you as you move from one property to another. But the Sheraton brand team has developed some first of its kind offerings, such as mobile ordering for food and beverage to be delivered to locations other than your guest room. Technology is also taking on an even greater role in the meeting space, with some planners now reporting that they're spending more on audiovisual than food and beverage as they move into the hybrid meeting realm. Thanks to Zoom calls like this, we now know the benefits of attending online events, as much as we are clear on their limitations. Companies facing budget restrictions or self-imposed travel meeting bans will be more apt to allow their folks to attend virtual events. There's also a part of your normal attendees that may be uncomfortable traveling or unable to travel due to medical reasons. Thankfully, our in-house AV partner, PSAV, has been at the forefront of this trend, has been able to assist clients with these increased technology needs.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what we're all facing. So just very briefly, if you can you touch on some of the advantages though that you guys have as a large downtown property, maybe just a couple sentences?
Yeah, really, size matters. For us, being able to take a group and keep them fully self-contained. Our hotel is 2 city blocks, 133,000 square feet of space, 1,231 guest rooms, 4 restaurants, 4 bars. We have the ability to take a group that might have been too small somewhere else and put them into our space, and they can really spread out and socially distance.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's one of the advantages too. If you're at a little boutique hotel, there's not much room, that you can do to make those adjustments, on the fly. So, Chris, I'm sure we'll have more questions and we'll want to address them in this segment. But Maureen, let's go on to our next panelist and see a different perspective.
That sounds great, Lisa. And I'm thrilled that our next panelist is able to join us today. Thad Carlson has over 15 years of experience in the hospitality industry, has been consistently recognized as a top producer in sales, and has an extensive operations background, which lent itself well to opening 3 properties. Thad is incredibly active in Colorado tourism efforts, and he actually served on the board of directors for Destination Colorado for over 7 years. Aside from all of that, anyone who meets Thad knows that his heart is in this and he truly cares about our industry. So Thad, I'll turn it over to you.
Upon arrival in the serene valley that cradles Devil's Thumb Ranch, you may feel as if you've taken a step back in time. Yet simultaneously, as if you've journeyed into the future. Across these rolling acres of untamed wonder, we suggest to simply be in the moment. Whether you grab a helmet or a harness, mittens, or a mat, a rain, or a robe, or one pole, or two. Get ready to experience true Colorado. Here, we maximize fun every season, while minimizing our impact on the land that provides it. Looking to the earth, sky, and our surroundings to recycle, reuse, and repurpose. Whether you wake up in the rustic luxury of one of our 2 cozy lodges, or in the peace and quiet of our tucked-away cabins, you'll see our preservation efforts in every board, beam, and stone. Taking a cue from the pioneers who came before us, we firmly believe in turning old into new, dining farm to table, and living life to the fullest, sunrise to sunset. And we invite you to do the same. Welcome to yesterday. Welcome to tomorrow. Welcome to Devil's Thumb Ranch.
Hi, good morning. My name is Thad Carlson. I'm the Director of Sales with Devil's Thumb Ranch. First and foremost, I just wanted to acknowledge the national pandemic, including those who have been furloughed and most importantly, those who have tragically lost their lives. Also, a very special thank you to MPEG and CSI for putting together the Spotlight series and making this webinar possible. We recognize the meetings industry has been hit especially hard and what that means for our beloved planners. My focus today is to help in every way to get back to business by creating a safe environment for meetings to exist in the post-pandemic world. We know that meetings mean business, but what does that look like moving forward? For me, the experience has reiterated the importance of hygiene protocols, sanitation, and food and beverage guidelines, which I believe will have a positive and long-lasting impact on what meetings look like in the future. I personally am a big fan of the heightened cleaning measures and would like to see those continue as the new standard in best practices moving forward. In regards to social distancing, what group doesn't love to spread out? We are fortunate at Devil's Thumb Ranch to have not just 1, but 2 reclaimed Civil War era barns, which we can use to adhere to new spacing guidelines. Additionally, I foresee our covered pavilion being very popular, even more so now for group events looking to enjoy the fresh mountain air. Our mission at Devil's Thumb Ranch has always been to create the premier and true Colorado experience, one that honors our great outdoors, beautiful natural resources, and that rugged individualism attributed to the West. For me, the opportunity here is to take everything that we've learned over the past several months and put that in alignment with what our core values are. For example, getting outside has always been a focal point for our groups, but now there's added importance on being in wide open spaces, which just happens to be a strong suit of many Colorado properties. We like to tout our 6,500 acre outdoor mountain wilderness recreation area, which we offer a myriad of outdoor group activities, lower ropes course, Pioneer Challenge, archery, hatchet throwing, in addition to some new activities that are fun and unique, such as the Beehive experience, as well as forest therapy walks. Regardless of what our properties have to offer, it really comes down to building consumer confidence. And the way that we get groups ready to travel again is through communication, whether it's a link about COVID-19 on your website or an updated meetings grid with social distancing in mind, or the webinar like this one. However we can get the word out to you planners so that you feel comfortable bringing your groups to the property. Then it's up to us to prove to you that all of the procedures and protocols we've put in place are really enacted. And then we can get back to business, which we know our message of meetings mean business is true, but it only works if people are comfortable to travel. And so thank you again for the opportunity to be here today. Looking forward to answering any questions you have during the Q&A.
Awesome. Well, I have one before we get into, Q&A, which is, so it's about your occupancy. So Thad, you guys have been experiencing pretty high demand and occupancy. And why do you think that that is?
We have. We reopened on May 22nd, not really knowing what was going to happen. And we're pleased to have an overwhelming response with folks ready to travel again, mostly regional, everything we talked about in the webinar previously. I think the biggest things for us was, our focus on outdoor experience and wellness travel. And that seems to be what people are looking for right now. And so we were positioned well when we reopened to welcome those guests. A little bit of cabin fever, I think, motivated those bookings, but we've been very fortunate to have a good response from travelers.
Yeah, that's great. And you guys have so much that's available on site, on property that people can do. It's like a one-stop shop without having to get anywhere else. And then to be able to have CSI, come in and augment that. It's what a great, well-rounded program.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
Yeah, super cool. We can't wait. Look at the comments. So, Maureen, so let's move on to Jordan, because we're talking about creative ideas and she's the master.
Yes, she is. Next up, we have my incredibly creative and talented colleague, Jordan Valentine. Jordan, if you could share a little bit about your background and your role with CSI.
Yes, of course. My name is Jordan Valentine, and I am the Sales and Creative Services Manager here in Denver. I've worked with CSI for over 6 years, almost 7 years now, and I love working on our creative team. So thank you so much for having me today.
Great to have you. So as manager of creative services, you have a tough job, especially as demand for creativity increases. So share with us a little bit about what you guys are doing and how you're approaching these trends today.
Yeah, so today I wanted to introduce you guys to goat yoga, as well as a few new trends that we're starting to see here in Denver. So here in Denver, we have a fun and unique activity that can be hosted anywhere in Colorado. Goat yoga is a fun way to bring your group together while still practicing social distancing. Goat yoga is the perfect yoga practice, not only because it combines nature and animals, it's combining yoga, and they all go so well together. As you can see, people's faces just light up when interacting with the goats. It's proven that goats are therapeutic and bring happiness to people. We can bring your group to the beautiful farm where the goats reside, or goats can safely be brought to you for any offsite event. This activity can be hosted outdoors, depending on weather, indoors, or even inside of a ballroom. We have partnered with yoga studios throughout Denver and the surrounding areas. For example, this video that you see here was filmed at Keystone Resort Convention Center. We designed the day of your event to be fun and interactive. We want attendees to relax and enjoy their experience. I suggest pairing this event with food and beverage, or even we can create a high-end picnic feel. Options are truly endless. CSI DMC will provide sanitized mats, face masks, and hand sanitizer stations. So the video looks a little choppy, but we did have some attendees talking about their experience here in goat yoga. If we can.
They really do. It was phenomenal.
Does it feel good with the goat on your back?
It really does. It's really good. Now he's doing my hair.
You've been around goats before, right?
I have.
So did you enjoy today's lesson?
This was amazing. The best yoga ever. It feels fantastic. Man, it was wonderful.
Man, it was wonderful.
I'm going to do it again. It was awesome.
What did you like most? What's your favorite part?
Oh, really? Well, it was a great exercise after sitting in class all morning, but the goats are awesome. Big tension reliever, I think.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that was our goat yoga. So we also have some new wild and fun event experiences here in Denver that I wanted to share with you guys. Denver is known for their art culture and art scene. The Rhino Art District neighborhood has beautiful art murals lining every street, and CSI has created a custom art tour around Rhino. It starts by giving the background of the artists and masterpieces that they have created, and the tour ends with the attendees collaboratively painting their own art mural with a local artist. We have found that attendees love the personal touch, contributing to the community. Next, we have a 3D chalk artist, which is a great addition to any event. The artists can custom create art murals to the entrance of the venue, and then your attendees can watch the art come to life throughout their event. We also have a local wax artist that uses torches and flames to create art. It's fascinating to watch, and she can perform for virtual events or live events. Axe throwing is also a fun new activity that anyone can enjoy.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, all these things, goat yoga, I have actually not seen that one. I see a lot of fun comments on it as well. So what are some other new and wild ideas you guys are seeing emerging and that you're developing around the state?
Yeah, so being part of the creative team here in Denver, I love to bring attendees out to the outdoors and into the beautiful mountains that we like to call our backyard. We have created an event experience that highlights the 4 elements: earth, wind, water, and fire. The group will start the activity with a short hike that leads them to the lake, and at the lake, guests are going to experience this high-end speedboat race. And on the boat, we have world-class throttlemen. These throttlemen have won multiple national and world championships. Guests take turns experiencing this thrilling ride. CSI can provide race shirts with names and company logos. We also have the ability to custom wrap logos around the speedboats. And around the lake, guests are going to enjoy sea breachers, jet skis, kayaking, and for the air element, which is so much fun, we can station hot air balloons around the lake so guests can take short trips up and see over into the mountains. Throughout the day, we will pair this with food pairings and beverage refreshments. Attendees are going to end their day with roasting s'mores by the fire. And after the event, guests are going to receive onboard footage of the race and their speeds, as well as pictures from their wild day in Colorado.
Oh my gosh. Okay, these outdoor culinary adventure experiences sound super awesome. I see you can sign us all up for axe throwing too, and for the speedboat races. These are great. Thank you so much, everyone. We have a few more minutes remaining and wanted to move into some additional Q&A to make sure that we're addressing what you guys need.
Yeah, so to our audience, if you have a question, I've seen some coming up through the chat, but please submit those in the Q&A box and we'll go ahead and tackle those with our panel.
Yeah, let's open up the Q&A. And while those are coming in, I have a question that maybe many of us are kind of thinking about too. So this one's especially for the hoteliers. Well, maybe for you guys too at CSI. But as consumers, we all know that these adjustments are coming at a cost. You know, space ratios are, going to change a lot. We anticipate, room rental, there's extra, cleaning to do. What are you guys kind of seeing in that area? And especially if we're going to be contracting and we're space hogs, how might that change things? So Chris, maybe is that a good one for you?
Yeah, so, this has always been, this is a partnership that we enter into with our planners and the hotels, and we'll continue to work with you. We understand that in order for us to have meetings, we need to accept that our meetings are going to be bigger, and we're prepared for that. As far as the costs, the hotels are incurring some costs, but at this point, I can't speak for across our entire company, but at least our specific property, we are adapting and bringing in the stuff that we need, and we're paying for it. This isn't something that we plan to pass on. In order for us to actually have people come to our business, these are things we have to do. So, will there be a time? I was just on a call earlier today. There seems to be some folks that think somewhere down the road there might be some meeting service charge to help cover some of these costs. I think certainly if if a group wants its attendees to go from room to room to room with breakouts, and we have to use the fogging machines inside every single breakout room before the next group can come in, you know, those are things that as part of the partnership we work through with you, what's important to you, and how can we make this successful together.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And interestingly, so I had this conversation as I worked on food and beverage for an event that I also anticipate, another Sheraton, and we talked about buffets. And strangely, the hotel actually had said, honestly, the way that we're doing it, even though that there are more people who are required as staff to do the serving, there's a lot less food waste, so that there's kind of a balance. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, anytime we can control a portion, we can control costs. That's why buffets tend to be more expensive than plated usually. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay, good. Yeah, because I mean, we know that there's got to be a cost somewhere in there. So thank you for that. That's a great answer. We also had a question I want to make sure discussed live. So we had one, when is the best time of year to do a lot of the outdoor activities? And Thad had actually responded that activities are year round. The summer activities are typically mid-May through October. So that's a pretty good long season, you know, as well for those sorts of things. Any other questions that you guys have? Let's see.
Yeah, so Lisa, I'll jump in here. We have a question from Brandy. She's asking, how are you handling the closed restaurants and bars for travelers? I'm not motivated if there's limited amenity offerings on property. Our property is considering outside dining and bar service. So that sounds like a food and beverage question maybe for Chris.
Yeah, so our restaurants are wrapping up their renovation right now that are in-house and bars, and they're coming back online in the next few weeks here. Our plan is to utilize our outdoor space as much as possible. But throughout this whole time frame, we do have partner restaurants on our location that remained open. So Yard House remained open, Zoop remained open, and they were delivering to our guests in the hotel. I understand the desire to have your attendees to be able to come out of a general session at the end of the day and go to the hotel bar and socialize and network, and we want that as well. And we're going to continue to allow that, following whatever the social distancing or the guidelines are from in our jurisdiction.
Thank you, Chris. We have another question in the chat from David. Do you still have meeting limits of 50 max? Any updates on when that will be increased and which criteria need to be met to drive that increase in capacity?
We're actually at 100 right now. We're at 100 inside and 175 outside. What we're working on with the mayor of Denver is to try and get a variance, at least for our jurisdiction. And I'm sure that and folks around the state are working with their local jurisdictions to do the same thing. But we're trying to get to that next stage. And our governor's next stage says 50% capacity of a particular space. So we're hoping that we can keep our numbers down and we can move to that next stage and increase attendance.
Yeah, so Chris, does that mean, for example, that if you had a group of, let's say, 100 or maybe even up to 1,000, that you just need double the space, but you could still put groups into smaller venues, right? You can divide that large group into smaller spots so that you don't have 1,000 in one place.
Exactly. You know, and a really interesting thing that we're starting to see is, you know, a lot of hotels, they have that one dark channel on the television. And so they're doing, in order to maximize how they use the space, they're filming their general session, but sending it to all the guest rooms. So folks are in their guest room for the general session, but then just coming down and utilizing the breakout space. And, you know, I think that's one way that we can really maximize those numbers and those capacities in the room.
Yeah. Okay, so we are at the top of the hour. We still have a teeny tiny bit more that we wanted to cover. So for those of you who are interested and can stay on for a few minutes after the call, we're happy to keep the conversation going and to answer some more questions. There's like probably a zillion that we could still be doing. And so we do want you to share your feedback in our post-event survey, which you'll see in the link chat. And now for a couple of quick fun drawings, because we want to see you.
Yes, so I have my high-tech bowl here with the 3 attendees. So we have from CSI DMC, we offered a $150 gift certificate to Del Fresco's Steakhouse. So that is going to Beth Hoffman with Conference Direct. Congratulations, Beth. And if you could, to each of our winners, as I list them, if you could just make sure you confirm your email address with us. We want to make sure we have it noted correctly. And then thanks to Lisa Meller and CIG Travel, we have one $200 activity credit anywhere you want to go. You can redeem this through CIG Travel. That's awesome.
Drum roll.
That is incredible. So here we go. This goes to, Paulina Lorenzana. So if Paulina, if you can make sure we have your email address correct there. Then
I have hers too, so I'll make sure that she gets that. Awesome.
Okay, awesome. And then we have two $25 Amazon e-gift cards. They are redeemed through our partners at Next Level Performance. One goes to Cami Ursley. So Cami, if you can make sure we have that. And then the second one goes to Catherine Cohen. So there you go. Those are
awesome.
Okay.
So thanks, guys. That's exciting. I mean, I know we all want to get out there and do whatever we can to travel again soon. So again, we've come to the end of our time. We want to thank you all for joining. We hope that you learned something new and that you'll seek us out for some support. Our contact information is listed in this last slide. We'll make the recording available shortly on YouTube, and please don't forget the survey. So thanks again to all of our panelists and for all of you who have joined us today, and have an awesome remainder of your week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Does anybody want to stay on, or are you guys good?
We do have some questions in the chat, so we'll see if those attendees are still online and want questions answered.
Yeah, I'm happy to stick around if there's any more questions.
Me as well. I think the question from Steve Smith is one that we're getting on the hourly basis about force majeure clauses, and we want to talk about that.
I see.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I see Steve's dropped off, so we might want to reply by email, but Stacy Ann is still here. And she's asking, for 2020, the mask, 6 feet of social distancing and sanitation requirements is a given. Do you foresee these new procedures being required for all of 2021?
I think it depends on whether a vaccine comes out. I don't see why the mask rule and the social distancing rule would change until there's a vaccine. The news has said early next year is what they're shooting for. And so with any luck, it wouldn't be for all of 2021, but I don't foresee it changing until that happens.
You know, I have a comment on that too, because I've had a chance to talk with a couple of my suppliers in various states where we have events, going. And really what I found is that each state has their own requirements and regulations, and you have to look at which city, local county, health requirements are, which change day to day. So stay really in touch with your CVB, is one thing, and then with the hotel. But what I just recently learned is that largely in places where there are not a lot of strict regulations, it becomes it's our responsibility as planners, and it's the host's responsibility to figure out how much they do or do not want to enforce, because the hotels have said to us that they are not going to play police. That's not their job. So that's something that we're going to have to measure and to figure out, and I think a lot of that comes down to polling your attendees too, to get their palate for travel and what it is will make them feel comfortable.
We can also jump in and answer Steve Smith's question, and then he can see, our response in the recording. So he asks, what are you seeing from your clients that have contracted overflow hotels but are now unable to fulfill those guest rooms because of lowered group size? Do force majeure clauses allow planners to get out of their contract commitment?
I'll speak from our perspective. Is throughout this whole process, we've been working with our planners to rebook into those future dates. In fact, our 2021 is now jam-packed with 2020 meetings that have pushed. So that's one way I think a lot of hotels are working together with these planners. I'll tell you, one of the things that we're starting to see is this emerging trend of clauses we've never seen before coming out. And it's a little scary because not all these I think have been vetted properly through proper legal channels. And so I'm worried that some folks are putting clauses into contracts that may not be enforceable or could have the opposite of the intended effect. So I'm just saying, be careful in this throughout this process right now. We cannot survive as an industry without our planners returning meetings back to normal. And we are not in any position to be doing anything to push that away any further. So I think the hotels that are going to be successful are the ones that continue to work with their planners on those contracts.
Yeah, there's a lot that's out there. The clauses are changing for sure, but there are some flexibilities that I've found are becoming a little bit more commonplace. Like, okay, if there are such, regulations such that 50% or more of your travelers can't come, well, then your attrition and your food and beverage attrition should concomitantly represent that, because it's by no fault of ours, right? It's just, there are people that still can't travel. They have business mandates through September, may go on, and they just flat out can't come. So it's not quite force majeure, and that's what we have to be really careful about, is that some contracts may read that it has to be impossible or impractical to perform an event in that city, but where people are coming from has nothing to do with that city. So you have to look outwards to what the WHO and what the CDC guidelines are to be able to work with that, because you may have a frustration of purpose type of clause issue that is not quite force majeure. And even we're seeing event cancellation insurance, for example, is not really nearly as effective as it used to be, because there's nobody that will insure this, at this point, so there's a lot to be. I would just say this is a time to work with legal and to probably engage hospitality law, people that really understand that, because your regular in-house lawyer who doesn't deal with this and isn't aware of the industry trends may not be actually your best advocate, because they also don't understand the negotiation and the give and take and the partnership that goes along with all this stuff. So I totally agree with your assessment that you got to be really careful.
And I'll also jump in here, Lisa, and just say that I think you hit it right on the head with partnership. I think a lot of these planners have built a long-standing relationship with the hoteliers that they're negotiating with. So just be upfront with them. It may not fall under force majeure right now, but we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. We have no idea what the fall will bring. And so have those discussions early and say, you have a true concern about your attendance. Help me, partner with you. And especially for those annual events that have been coming to certain properties for years and years, you have a long-standing relationship. So make that work for you and say, maybe this isn't the year, like I mentioned in my comments. 2020 might not be the year, but 21 might be, or future years. And so use that relationship to really come up with a good solution for both parties.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. Did we have any other questions that are outstanding out there?
We did have one more. Stephen asked if Pikes Peak is open for tours and hiking. Being here in Colorado Springs, I can say that the COG Railway is under renovation, but Pikes Peak is open. So you're able to hike, you're able to drive up and see and view, and they're constructing a new mountain house on top of Pikes Peak. So definitely still a great tourist destination for anybody.
So beautiful up there. So beautiful up there. All right. Well, I suppose, guys, if there are no further questions, now is probably a good time to pop off. And if anybody out there does have any other remaining questions, feel free to reach out to us, to me, to Maureen, to any one of the hoteliers or DMC experts directly, and we are happy to help. So thanks again for joining.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Everyone.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.